Welcome to Talking Baseball, Episode 2. I'm Joe Mahan.
And I'm Steve Kuplast.
Tonight, we plan to do a basketball show. 4 years in Miami. We had some cancellations, car trouble. So Steve and I, we're pivoting. We're going to do a baseball show. No notes, just like two guys talking sports. So let's talk about baseball. Let's talk about that Derek Jeter dynasty with Joe Torre.
The one that started in '96?
Yes.
Yes.
So how many championships did they win?
They won, it was 96, 98, 99, 2000. I don't think he wasn't on the team. Was he on the team? No, he wasn't on the team.
Did they win 3 in a row?
They did. They won 3 in a row from 98 to 2000.
Okay, now the captain, I call him the captain, Derek Jeter. Did he win 5 championships? Because he won one later in his career.
They did, but I don't know if he was on that team in 2009 when they beat the Phillies.
I think so. When A-Rod got his ring?
Yes, so he's got 5 rings then.
So he's got 5 rings. The captain, Joe Torre, we were talking about Joe Torre on the last show. He won a batting championship when he played with the Cardinals.
Yes.
Any of those World Series with the Yankees that really sticks out to you?
I think the '98 World Series does, because that was an unnatural series. It was the Yankees and the Padres.
Oh yeah.
It was Tony Gwynn's only World Series.
Right.
And the Padres were like a nobody, and they got swept in the World Series that year.
Oh yeah. Yes.
I mean, the Yankees won. I think it was 120 games that season.
Wow. So
in total.
So Tony Gwynn got to a World Series.
He hit a home run in the Yankee Stadium. I think it was in game 1 or game 2. I forget what game it was.
Yep. And they just outmatched.
They were just outmatched. I don't think they ever had a lead in that entire series.
Yep. Oh wow. The series when the Yankees beat the Mets, was that 4-1?
That was 2000. That was 2000.
You were talking about Piazza.
That was the year that Piazza Clemens. That was the year that Clemens had threw at Piazza, hit him in the head.
Yep.
He had a concussion. I forget how. I think he was out for like 2 months or something. Then when that World Series came, Piazza shattered his bat. And the bat went back at Clemens and he tossed it right back in his direction.
Yep.
That was, I think, game 1, I believe, in that World Series.
And now Piazza started his career with the Dodgers. He's Tommy Lasorda's nephew, I believe.
Yes, but I know Tommy Lasorda didn't think he was good enough to play baseball.
Wow,
and he became the best offensive catcher in history.
Yep. And I'm a big admirer of Tommy Lasorda. Won that championship in '88. Took a couple other teams to the World Series.
I don't think he ever won again. I think '88 was his only one.
Right. Yep.
I think that was a Kirk Gibson year too.
Oh yeah, Kirk Gibson. That was the one. The year we were talking about where Orel Hershiser pitched a 2-hitter and had 3 hits.
That's right.
Against the Mighty A's. Tommy Lasorda called them the Mighty A's. That was with Jose Canseco, Dave Stewart. Great team. Tony La Russa. In your lifetime watching baseball, what are some of the best World Series you remember?
Well, I mean, I had to start with 2004 because I was a huge Red Sox fan, and that was the year they broke the curse.
Yep.
They came back. They were down 3-0 against the Yankees.
Oh yeah, that was.
And they came back and won the series. I think the best one I remember was 2001 and 2002.
Yep.
I think are the 2 best ones.
Wow. And what?
2002 was Gary Bonds' only World Series.
Oh yeah,
but
right.
They didn't win.
Yeah. Let's talk a little about Barry Bonds. When he was with the Pirates,
he was a base stealer.
He was like about 170.
He was.
And then his weight ballooned up when he was with the Giants.
It was towards the late 90s when the home runs started coming into play.
Yep.
Especially in '98, he had to sit on the sidelines to watch Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, Ken Griffey Jr., Greg Vaughn, I think Larry Walker was in that mix.
Yep.
I think Vinny Castilla was in that mix. He had to sit on the sidelines and watch.
Yeah.
And he was an attention seeker. He didn't like the fact he wasn't getting the attention.
Oh wait a minute. So wait a minute, did he come back that next off season with that extra 30 pounds?
I think he did because I know in the late 90s he started having knee injuries.
Yep.
And just speculated that he may have taken some kind of performance enhancement steroid or drugs to increase his stamina.
Yeah. Well, a lot of steroids is to help you heal from injuries. It's not necessarily to make you a better performer. It's to heal from an injury, and then you can, begin your rehab. Really.
But I think at that time it was out of the game. I think they're excluded from the Hall of Fame. I don't think. I think he's the greatest home run hitter ever played the game, so I don't think he should be in the Hall of Fame.
So you think Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame?
I think he should be because the numbers. I think he's
he passed the Babe.
He passed Babe with
and
Hank, but he won the MVP at least a dozen times.
Yeah.
A couple of Gold Gloves.
Yeah. So do you think Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, who else? Jose Canseco. I don't know about his numbers. McGuire,
Jose
they
Canseco
should be in the Hall of Fame.
Jose Canseco's a little different because he was a designated hitter, and they
Right.
don't see that as a position. The Raiders don't.
Yep.
They don't play the field.
Yeah, I don't think Jose's numbers were Hall of Fame worthy. McGuire is, but Jose early in his career, didn't he have like 40 home runs and 40 stolen bases?
He did.
That's impressive.
He was one of the first players to ever do that.
And didn't Albert Bell have 50 and 50, if I'm not
I don't
mistaken?
think Albert Bell was in a base stealer.
Who was the one that had 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases?
I think that was Alex Rodriguez.
That's impressive. He was good though, Albert Bell.
He was.
Oh, he could smash. What do they call it? He could. No, he was good. That was a great ball club.
It was, but he had that hip condition later in his career.
Yeah.
Was it Baltimore?
Yeah.
I think when he got to Baltimore, he had the hip condition or something that prevented him from being able to play forever.
Did you ever see that catch or see the highlight where what the heck is that guy's name? Mitchell. I'll think of it. Kevin Mitchell, I believe. Where he caught it with bare hand. All-time play. He's in the left field. He's running the ball so far. He goes like this.
I think
and
he was
grabs
with
it
the
with his bare
Giants.
hand. One of the greatest plays in baseball history.
I think he was with the Giants.
Yeah.
I still think the best play I ever saw though was Jose Canseco getting hit off the head.
Oh yeah, classic. So the ball bounces off his head and goes out for a home run. Yeah, that was a classic. You know, it was one of the you've heard about the throw with you heard about the play with Bo Jackson.
The one where he climbs a wall.
He threw out Harold Reynolds, who now works with Major League Baseball. Harold Reynolds was a speedster. When he came around third, the third base coach was telling him to slide, and Reynolds is saying, "Slide? I'm flying." Bo Jackson caught it on the warning track, or but it bounced. And he said, "I just turned and threw it where I thought home plate would be," and he got him out.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, check that out on YouTube. Legendary by Bo Jackson. One of the great, Jordon was saying, our floor director here, Steve's pulling double duty here.
Yeah.
But your shoulder, you got good news about your shoulder.
I do, yes.
So that's a good thing.
No surgery needed.
No surgery needed. Good news about that. Thank God about that. We were talking. Jordon made a good point about a good show would be two sports stars like Deion Sanders, Bo Jackson,
Brian Jordan.
Yep, Michael Jordan. Bo Jackson. Now, I think it was a good decision. I liked it that he played two sports. But did you think that hurt him not deciding on one sport?
I mean, it's hard to say because I was too young to remember Bo Jackson playing. The same thing with Deion Sanders. I was too young to remember.
Prime time.
I do remember reading I think it was maybe 5 or 6 when Deion Sanders played baseball.
Yeah, but Prime time played with your Braves.
He did, but like I said, I don't remember Deion Sanders playing.
I
was too young to remember.
One World Series, Prime time.
91, 92, or 93. I forget what year. Or it might have been 90. I forget what year.
Yeah, prime time. A friend of mine, whenever you would mention a sports player, he would say the nickname. So if you said to him Gary Payton, he would say the glove. If you said Charles Barkley. He would say Sir Charles. You know, he always had the nickname Prime Time. But you know, back to baseball and the captain Derek Jeter. How about the way Derek Jeter ended his career with a base hit RBI?
That was I mean, granted, the Yankees didn't win. That was the only year I wanted to see the Yankees win the World Series, to be honest.
Yeah, Derek Jeter, class act.
I think but when he came out of his last game when he was at Fenway, in his final at bat, when the third baseman purposely let him get a hit. If you see the YouTube highlight, he just purposely let him get a hit that day, and then he came out of the game, and that was the end of his career.
Well, that was like Mickey Mantle when he hit his 500th home run. Denny McClain kind of said, "Where do you want it?" He grooved it in there.
Yes, I
meaningless
read
game.
that one.
Mickey Mantle, who won the Triple Crown, 1956. We were talking about the Red Sox. Carl Yastrzemski won that Triple Crown in '67, but it wasn't a pure Triple Crown because he tied for home runs with Harmon Killebrew.
Yes, that's correct.
Carl Yastrzemski. I didn't realize that he won a batting title earlier years.
I think it was in the early 60s.
Yeah, I didn't know that. He was a great hitter, Carl Yastrzemski.
But I want to see. I'm curious to see if they go after the Red Sox bring his grandson over in the off season.
Yes. Now, what about you've seen the highlights of Carlton Fisk, Game 6?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Of course, with the pole.
It's like one of the most famous home runs.
It was.
They didn't win that year, but they still.
Yeah, they won Game 6. They lost Game 7 at home, and they were up 3-0.
They did, yeah.
Not that 3-0's, you know, a surety that you're going to win, but that was the Red Sox back then.
Well, the one that got me was the '86 team when they were up. They were up. I think they were like 1 out away. They were 1 out away from winning Game 6.
Right.
And they had like a 2-run lead, and they ended up. And then one thing happened, another, and then it was all highlighted about Buckner's era.
Don't get me started on that one. The Red Sox started that series. They were up 2-0, and they won the first 2 in New York.
They did, yes.
And then you lose. You go into New York. We win 2 ball games. Then you lose that series. But Billy Buckner.
Yeah, but I don't think it was just Billy Buckner.
Oh, it wasn't. It wasn't.
It was just.
They put it on Billy Buckner.
It was everybody. Because it was the final play of that game.
Right. Yeah.
But there was, if you read about that game, there's things that happened.
Bob Stanley, Calvin Schiraldi. Oh yeah, they put it on Billy Buckner. And the thing was, earlier in that game, because Buckner's ankles were so bad, he was wearing high tops. He scored. I don't know. I think he did. I don't think he slid. He dove in.
I think he dove
in. Was going to be the hero of that game.
But I blame it on McNamara because he could have pulled Buckner from the game
and put Stapleton in.
Stapleton, I think his name. Because I think Buckner would have been a Hall of Famer had it not been for that one play.
You're right, because Buckner won some batting titles when he was with the Cubbies. You're right, he was Hall of Fame. He was right near that 3,000 hit, maybe like 2,008 close.
He was very close.
Yeah, very close. He probably would have been a Hall of Famer except for
that one play because that's what he's known for.
Right. Yep. Because
is that one.
Yeah, because we were talking about Jimmy Rice. And Jim Rice, it took him a long time to get into the Hall of Fame. A lot of it was because baseball writers have so much power, and he wasn't nice to them, to put it mildly.
I heard about that.
And they made him pay. But Jimmy Rice, because I remember when he retired, he had a bum elbow. He had 298 career average, and he was 18 home runs short of I believe, 400.
I think it was 400.
Now, if you would have had 300 and 400, you're Hall of Fame. But he was so close that, like, with that elbow, he could have probably stretched it and got to 305.
I think so, but I mean, somebody who I still think should be in the Hall of Fame is Fred McGriff.
Was he good?
He was 7 or 8 home runs away from 500.
Okay, yeah.
And 500 home runs is like an automatic Hall of Fame.
Right, I got to check that out.
And he's
Fred McGriff.
I think he's like 6 or 7 or 8 home runs away from 500.
Yup, yeah.
And he's never got in the Hall of Fame, and I'm like, he was like. Nobody talks about Fred McGriff.
Right, no one talks about it. He was very mild-mannered, class act. I'm going to look into his numbers. Right, I think
he was like, I want to say like 6 or 7 home runs away from 500.
Wow, yeah. Did he win a ring?
He was on the '95 Braves team that won.
All right, good. Yeah, he was a class act, Fred McGriff.
And he also, no, I don't think he was on those Blue Jay teams in the late.
I was going to say, was he on those Blue Jays teams? They
were
good.
I don't think so. I think.
Yep.
I forget who. I think
Joe Carter. Dave Winfield got a ring.
Dave Winfield,
Steinbrenner would call him Mr. May. And then when he got that championship, he was probably thinking about Steinbrenner. Oh, I'm not Mr. May now. I got a ring. That was a great ball club. Toronto won back-to-back championships.
They were the first Canadian team to win the World Series.
Yep, for sure. Hey, if you were starting the pitchers that you've seen in your life, if you were going to build like an all-star pitching cast, your 4 rotation, who would your pitchers be?
Well, my number 1 would be Pedro.
Okay.
Number 2 would be the 3 Braves guys,
All right,
and then Randy Johnson somewhere in that mix.
Oh yeah, right. Maddox, Gladys,
But I have to go with
Smoltz,
the 3 guys from Atlanta.
Randy Johnson.
And Randy
you're right,
Johnson,
yep.
I would have to throw him in as probably the 5th starter or
Yep.
something.
You know who was a pretty good pitcher? Kurt Schilling.
He was. I'm surprised. I think he's going to
Yep.
get in the Hall of Fame next
Yep.
year because of the players on the ballot this upcoming season.
Yep.
I think he's going to just get in. I think it's his last year with eligibility too.
Yeah, because Kurt Schilling's got a championship with Arizona, and he's got a championship with the Red Sox.
Yes.
So he got
But
the
he was
job
also
done.
he was also a very good postseason pitcher.
Oh, he
too. I
was.
forget-
That was his thing, postseason. Yeah.
He was great numbers in the postseason.
Yeah. You remember where he started?
He started with the Red Sox.
No, Schilling, the Phillies.
No, but he was originally with the Red Sox.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He got traded. The Red Sox traded him for Mike
That's a
Buck.
statement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they traded him to Baltimore for
Yeah.
what was that pitcher's name?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I can't think
yeah.
of the pitcher's name. It was sometime in the
So he
late
started
80s.
with the Red Sox.
He ended up pitching,
Wow.
and then they brought him back in 2004.
Yep. Now, any other great pitchers you remember during those years, like World Series, like who, you know?
I mean, there's David Wells.
Well, I tell you what, he had a good run.
He
there.
did, but
he did. I'm glad you brought him up. Andy Pettit.
He was a steroid. He
Right.
admitted to taking steroids though. He ended up. There's Mike Mussina.
Mike Mussina. He
almost-
was a solid. Well, remember he got that payday where he went to the Yankees and he got.
They did. The Red Sox were trying to get him, and they
Yup.
didn't get him. And they, I think
Yeah.
the Yankees pulled him because the
Yup.
Red Sox are going to get him to have Pedro and Mussina back to back in the rotation.
Yep. You know who I want to look into his numbers? El Duque. Remember El Duque, the pitcher?
he didn't last.
Championships?
He only played maybe.
He was a comet, yeah.
He didn't play that long. I think he was 10, 11 years, but he was.
Yeah, but the thing
When
is,
he first came over.
yeah, when he first came here, he was saying he was like 32, and some people were saying, "Are you sure you're not 36?" Remember they didn't believe what he was saying about his age.
They thought the same thing with Livan Hernandez when he first came over
Yup.
to the Marlins in the late 90s.
Yeah,
He was on the Marlins team in '97 when they won.
yep.
And then they thought the same thing with Hideo Nomo when he first came over in the mid-90s.
Oh yeah, yep, yeah. Because we were talking about that Jim Leland, who won that championship as the manager of the Marlins. He was the manager of the Pirates when they had Bobby Bonilla
And
Barry Bonds and Andy Van Slyke.
Andy Van Slyke, I forgot about him.
Yep, good ball club.
But I kind of felt bad for Jim Leland because after the Marlins won that series in '97, they traded all their stars away the following year.
Yeah, it was like a fire sale.
And then they ended up,
Yep.
I think they lost over 100 games in
Yeah.
the next 2 years he was there.
Yeah, and didn't Jim Leland, he went and later managed the Tigers and got them to a World Series?
Yeah, but he didn't win the World Series. in the
Right,
Tigers.
yep. But they got to, yeah.
He did, yes. But
And that was, we were talking about the player on the Tigers who won the Triple Crown.
Miguel Cabrera,
Yep. So that was impressive.
that was. I forget, was that 2012 or 13? he
Yeah,
won the
that
Triple
was
Crown?
very impressive. Over these last, because you follow baseball much more closely than I, these days I mostly follow NFL. But over these last, say, 10 years, who are the consistent, batting champions? Like, who's winning batting titles these days?
I mean, it's
And home run
different.
titles.
I mean, it's different. I mean, this season alone, Salvador Perez and Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Okay.
I think they each hit 50 or close to 50 home runs.
I was just going to bring him up, Vlad Guerrero. Was he a player? And-
Well, his
and
son is with the Blue Jays at the moment.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yup. And did Mookie Betts win a batting title? He won an MVP.
I'm not sure. to be
Yeah.
honest. I know he didn't have a great season this
Yeah.
season.
Because I don't know if it's as big these days as it used to be, but it used to be I guess in the paper, it would be that they would have the batting titles,
Battle leaders.
RBIs,
Home run leaders.
and home runs. Now, who's been the best home run hitter you say over the last? Who's like the top gun in home runs? Or is it more that it dwindled down? It's not what it was.
It's not as. I remember growing up as a kid, it was always Mark McGuire or
Mark
Sammy
McGuire,
Sosa, but
Sammy
nowadays
Sosa,
different every
Barry
single year.
Bonds. Someone told me when I was living in Las Vegas, they said Sammy Sosa came up to the bar. He said he was cool, dressed to the nines. They said they never saw anyone with wider shoulders. Now, have you ever seen Sammy Sosa clips when he broke into the major leagues? He
A
was our
few of them.
size. He was like 160, 165.
He was.
You know?
But I know the Red Sox almost got him in like the mid '90s when he was putting up those numbers.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't forget they didn't get him for some reason. I forget what it
Sammy
was.
Sosa, the home run chase with Mark McGuire. But all those years later, they were pointing the finger at the hitters for taking steroids. But you don't think the pitchers were also?
I mean, I think it was part of the game, and that's why I don't
Right.
think you should exclude someone from the Hall of Fame because it was part of.
It's tough to.
It was
but they
part of the
skewed those
game.
numbers.
They
I
did,
mean,
but
I don't
think-
know. Yeah, so you're saying let him in the Hall of Fame.
I think so because who knows? Like Babe. I mean, no one talks about Babe Ruth, but when Babe Ruth played, he was hitting more home runs than anything most of the teams were.
Yeah,
So
but the thing
could-
about but
So could he have been taking something too?
no, Babe Ruth was taking the opposite of enhancing drugs. Babe Ruth was eating 3 hot dogs and orange sodas in the dugout. Babe Ruth was not in great shape, but the thing was, like we talked about in the last show, Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, Tony Gwynn, certain players, they have great hand-eye coordination. So no, Babe Ruth was not. What would he be taking back in the 20s?
Well, I mean, who knows? But I'm just saying. But I mean,
You're just-
But
yeah.
it's just something that come up with like all the.
No, he was just that much better.
Okay, could be
That's
that.
what I think. Babe Ruth, now granted, sometimes he would say, that's it, this off season I'm going to get in shape. And back then, to get in shape would be chopping wood. You know, but he was just a superior athlete, Babe Ruth.
He was.
And he was big. You know, he was big. You know, I was saying on the last show that Babe Ruth is the GOAT of baseball, but if Babe Ruth wasn't there, I think Willie Mays is the 5-tool
Willie Mays,
player.
yes.
And you know what the 5 tools: hit for average, hit for power,
Diving
can
runs.
run and can throw. Willie Mays
Well,
is
his
the GOAT.
catch in the World Series, I mean, it's all over the place. It's
Right.
still talked about, even though it was 60 years ago. 50 years ago.
Legendary. When he was going backwards, he caught it like this, threw it, his hat fell off.
And he fell
Yep.
onto his knees.
Yep. And they said he wore a hat smaller because when he ran, it would fall off.
I heard about that.
The Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays. He
Yeah, I
used
think
to-
he's
he's,
like 92 years old.
oh,
90
he's the
something.
best. Willie Mays. They said his clothes, you could cut your finger on the crease on his pants. You know, New York City, dressed to the nines, great ball player. The Say Hey Kid. Back then, you know, 'cause I used to like listen to Larry King Loves Baseball. You know,
Yep, I
and
know
they used to
that.
say in New York you had Joe DiMaggio in center, Willie Mays, and Duke Snyder from the
Duke
3
Snyder,
New
right.
York teams. And who was the best? You know what was interesting? The Dodgers went from New York to LA, and the Giants went from New York to San Francisco that same year. Isn't that something, losing 2
It
New
is.
York teams?
I think they were trying to have that rivalry move out west.
Yeah.
Because they already had the rivalry with the Yankees and Mets. Well, I don't think the Mets were around at the time.
Right. No, the Mets. No,
The Mets were-
that's a good question because the Mets, I think, came out in 1960. But
Right.
the thing is, when they moved the Giants and the Dodgers out west to California, what was the farthest Western team? I'm just going to say off the top of my head, Chicago and St. Louis.
I would think so because Colorado wasn't around yet.
Right.
I don't think Seattle was even around yet.
Nope. There was no Arizona.
I don't think the Angels were even a part of the
Nope.
team.
So imagine the travel when you're moving teams to California, and
Oh, yeah.
and the closest one is St. Louis and Chicago.
I think that's why they moved them because they were trying to get the fan base out west.
No, it made sense. It made
At
sense
the
to
time,
do
I don't
it.
know what.
No, it did make sense. And then back then, as you know, there was no private jets. Like Larry Byrd had to fly commercial. Could you imagine being 6'7" and getting on commercial flights? No, it's private jets, and it's much better for everybody.
Oh yeah.
You know, private jets. But let's talk a little about, we were talking before, let's bring him up again. Tony Gwynn, pure hitter, probably won 5-6 batting championships.
Yes, he was the last player that got close to hitting 400.
Right, yeah. Yeah, Tony Gwynn, I mean, I loved him. I love Tony Gwynn.
His son was a little different though. His
Yeah.
son, gotta think his son couldn't live up to the reputation.
Yeah. Was his son a lefty? Left-handed hitter?
I believe so.
Yep. And we were talking about who I think's a great ball player, Ichiro Suzuki.
I think if he played his entire career in the States, he would have broke Pete Rose's all-time record.
Oh yeah, yep. And if you put together his numbers from Japan and here, he's one of the greatest baseball players in history.
Oh, absolutely.
Ichiro Suzuki, you know, I love him. I mean, and the thing was, he's not that big, but boy, did he have a strong arm.
It's kind of a shame though that he was out west because you didn't really get to see much of him.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw like his highlights. I would watch those. I would tape the games because I didn't want to stay up till 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. They say that about college football, like on Saturday nights, like when USC plays or Oregon. For the East Coast, they're on so late, you don't see those teams. Like, I don't really watch college football, but I would have wanted to watch Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly when he was doing his thing at Oregon. But those games are on so late for us. Yes. Speaking of late, we're not going to talk about baseball because this show might air 2 months from now. But speaking of baseball, sports radio, and they're right. These games are starting too late. 8:30 at night?
I think so, but I don't like how... I mean, the other night, the Red Sox and Astros, it was like a 5-hour game.
Right. So what's the answer there?
I think the problem that happens is you have too many pitching changes.
Yeah.
And you have all these commercial breaks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the commercial break. 4-hour games. Steve's trooper tonight.
I got like the cough.
He's got the cough. He's got the shoulder. But we're doing a show on the fly. Yeah, but what do you think's the answer? They want to put the games on at 8 for prime time.
I think they either have to limit the number of pitchers used per game.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah.
Or they got to cut back on the number of innings they play.
Yep.
Instead of maybe do like a 7-inning game.
Now, could they do that? Excuse me. Could they do that? Maybe saying you can only have this many pitchers on a roster, and then you got to use them longer.
I think they should because I don't like how they use the pitchers nowadays.
Right. Yeah.
You don't see the pitchers like Roy Halladay would throw complete games almost every time he came off the pitch, and now you see them going like 3 innings a game now.
Yep. Yeah.
But I think the other thing is what do you have? If you have a pitcher warming up in the bullpen, why does he need to throw warm-up pitches on the mound when you bring him in?
You're right.
If he's been throwing in the bullpen for like 20 minutes, why do you need to have a commercial break to take the pitcher out, bring the new pitcher in, and then he throws more warm-up pitches?
Yeah, because we're going to be doing a show in the future about 70s baseball, and I didn't realize the first night game in World Series history was 1971, Pirates in Baltimore. So before that, they had games during the day. Do you think having these games on at 8:30 at night, how are you going to bring up the next generation of fans if they're not going to be watching games at midnight?
I think that's the problem because I know baseball has kind of lost that the fan base. I think a lot of it is the games on too late.
Yep.
I don't know if I think it has to do with I think it has to do with ratings nowadays.
Oh yeah.
But I think either that or what they do is say come playoff time you make like a compromise where instead of playing games out west, maybe play them like in the middle part like St. Louis or Chicago or maybe like those stadiums have been around forever, say 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Or maybe 6 o'clock.
Right.
At least so that way the younger generation can get into the
Well,
either that or you just put the game instead of or maybe you just do the weekend games.
Yeah, well, out west, it's 3-hour time difference, obviously. So if a game starts at 8:30, if you live out west, it starts at 5:30.
Yeah,
that's much more reasonable. Because the NFL, they play their games during the day for the most part.
They do. I think that's what baseball should do.
Baseball is not.
I think the other thing with baseball too is because it's such a long season. They play 5-6 times a week.
Yeah.
So I think if you cut back, maybe they cut back on the number of games they play in the regular season.
That's another thing they should
I think that's the other issue that they have.
Yeah. Looking forward, like say 20 years, 30 years, are there any sports you think that you're going to say that sport is on its way out? Like, do you think football is going to be here in 40 years? People smashing into each other? Like, what sports will be here?
I think they'll change the rules of football.
And you think it will still be here?
I think so, but I don't think it's going to be like, they're not going to be tackling it as much as they used to. I think it's going to be like more like flag football.
Right, like, because I could see baseball being here 100 years from now. I could see basketball.
Over 100.
I could see, I could see basketball. You know what? I don't think it's going to be here 50 years. Hockey, maybe. I don't think like UFC. And I don't think boxing. I think that's a bygone era. People getting in there, and I love boxing. Tommy Hearns. I want to do a show on boxing. But I'm just saying, looking forward, I don't think in the future something like UFC, people are going to be into that. Do you?
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I think I look at something like say like football, for instance. I think they're going to switch it to flag football. Hockey, I don't see lasting for more than maybe 50 years.
Yeah, so you're
just because it's not as popular. You don't really talk about hockey.
Yeah, because and you could think, hey, they had a 100-year run, but like moving forward. But I agree with you. I think baseball has that where it could go another 100 years.
I think it could. Yes.
It really could. And basketball too.
And basketball too. Yes.
Yeah, but something like football, they are adapting now. I like the new rules where you can't just light up a receiver going over the middle or a quarterback. But back to baseball, what's the captain Derek Jeter doing these days? He's running the Marlins?
He's running the Marlins now, but I know they're going to be building mode, so they don't have, he hasn't been able to put together a championship team over there yet.
Yeah. Does he ever go on Major League Baseball Network? Like, he doesn't seem one that likes going on shows. Or...
Last time I saw him was when he was in his Hall of Fame jersey.
Yep.
And I remember watching this one on TV. And they were talking about the flip play he had in 2001.
Oh, one of the great
when he threw out, when he came out of nowhere and threw out was it Jason Giambi or the other?
Yep. All right, Giambi, yes, the flip play.
The
flip
play.
No, but in other words, he's very low key. You know, he's the opposite of someone like when there's a camera, they're there. Like Joe Theismann, you know, certain celebrities. If there's a camera, like Joe Theismann or William Shatner would come on my public access show. If the camera's off, the red light's on. But I think Derek Jeter's just class act. Hall of Famer, champion. But there was a lot of great players on that team. Here's one for you. Remember Paul O'Neill?
Yeah, he's a right fielder, left-handed power.
Right.
Guy.
He won a championship with that Cincinnati team that swept the A's.
That was in 1990.
I think in 1990. Lou Piniella was the manager. And they swept the mighty A's 4-0. O'Neill was on that team. Lou Piniella was the manager of that. We talked about that Seattle team. They won 115 games.
That was 2000. That was Ichiro's first year in 2001.
Oh, I didn't know that. And 115 games. What happened to them in the playoffs that year?
I think they lost to Cleveland. I think they beat the Yankees in the divisional series. They lost to the. No, sorry, they didn't beat the Yankees. They beat.
So it had to be someone out west. Like who's good that day, you know?
Remember, I think it might have been the Angels or the A's. Because one of those teams out west had won the wild card. Because I remember the Mariners won like 116 or 120 games. The team that won the wild card won like 110 games.
Oh, yeah.
So like neck and neck.
Yeah.
But I forget who it was. But I know that they won the division. Actually, I don't think they doubled. They lost the Indians in the division series.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was an interesting team because the Mariners didn't have Randy Johnson or Ken Griffey Jr. or Alex Rodriguez who were far and gone from those teams.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty impressive for Lou Piniella. Wins a championship with Cincinnati, guides another team to 115 victories.
Something like that.
He's good. He's good, Lou Piniella. Plus, he made that legendary play against the Red Sox in the one game
in '78
with the Sun.
Yeah, with the Sun.
Lou Piniella. Hey, did you ever see the highlight of George Brett? You know what I'm talking about? The Pine Tar?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, classic.
That's a classic one.
Classic. He runs out there with Billy Martin. George Steinbrenner would fire Billy Martin, and then the next season bring him back, and they would have like a press conference. George Steinbrenner was kind of like Jerry Jones. They loved going on camera, being a star. But one thing I hope Jerry Jones can do what George Steinbrenner did, because George Steinbrenner won a championship later on in his career.
He did, yes.
And I hope Jerry Jones can find a way to do that too.
The thing with George Steinbrenner is I remember he would go on after when the Yankees didn't win. I remember '97 when the Yankees lost in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He was angry. He would go on. I forget when it was. It was in '97 when the Yankees lost in the playoffs. And he was angry. He went on public TV and was like angry about his team not winning the playoffs.
He was a good owner. I like an owner like that that's invested. You know.
But he cared about winning too.
He did.
He didn't care if he had to give up 7 prospects to get like a superstar.
Right. Yeah. He did. He cared about winning. Good owner, George Steinbrenner. Say what you want about him. I like him, and I'm a Red Sox fan. Got the job done.
Oh yeah, yes.
And
he probably could have won more.
Right. If he didn't medal as much.
I think so. I think the problem. I know that he had that incident with Reggie Jackson.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Jackson? I think it was Reggie Jackson.
Oh yeah.
It was over.
Yeah. Reggie Jackson. What was his thing? The straw that stirs the drink.
Yes, I think something like that. I think.
Yep. He brought Reggie Jackson. He brought in Catfish Hunter from
Catfish Hunter. He brought in I mean, he signed Tino Martinez.
Good, right, yeah.
He brought in Chuck Melbuck, Scott Brocious. He held on to Birdie Williams.
Oh yeah, he brought in Knobloch, won those championships with the Twins. Brocious was good.
Brocious, he brought in Roger Clemens.
Yeah, and we were talking about Larritz. Jim Larritz had that great run in that playoff run.
I remember Red Sox fans were upset with George Steinbrenner when he brought in Wade Boggs.
Oh yeah, well yeah, because we see Wade Boggs, Red Sox fans think about him riding a horse. But Boggs, he got his championship.
Yep.
Boggs was a good hitter. I mean, you can't take anything away from Wade Boggs. And hey, good. I'm going to say a very good fielder, Wade Boggs.
Actually, I think he won a couple of gold gloves.
Very good fielder.
But he wasn't a home run hitter.
Nope.
But he knew how to make contact, which is what I think the game is lacking today. I think teams are so invested in waiting around for the big power hitters, like the 3-run home run.
Yeah.
So you're not seeing the base stealers anymore or the contact hitters anymore.
And people who drive the ball.
You're seeing teams waiting around, investing in all these power hitters. Sitting around waiting for the big 3-run home run.
Did you ever hear? Because I read an article about this, and I wasn't even following baseball. Did you ever hear the story about J.D. DeMartinez when he played with the Astros? He wanted to change his swing in the off season, and they told him, "You're too old to change your swing." He was like 26.
I think I heard about this.
And now you see what he is. He's on his way to the Hall of Fame. Because what it is now in baseball, you want to hit under the ball so it gets a spin like this, so it'll go out of the ballpark. Where in Jimmy Rice's day, you were just trying to smash it.
Well, I think that's what baseball is lacking now. Is you don't have like Ricky Henderson. You don't have the base stealers like Ricky Henderson anymore. You don't have like Tony Gwynn and Wade Boggs. You don't have the contact anymore.
I think you need that.
I think so, but I mean, I think the problem with baseball now is you have teams invested in the bullpens, which was something they never did when I was growing up.
Yeah.
That was like the last thing teams would focus on with bullpens. And now games are being won by how many relief pitchers you can have.
Yeah.
But it's like you don't have the base stealers anymore because you've got teams. So now you're seeing a lot of strikeouts. You're seeing a lot of home runs because teams are more invested in the power hitters than they were.
But you make a good point. Imagine if they had base stealers now. These games would be 6 hours. You know how you're going to throw over there? It'd be 6-hour games if they had base stealers. But the old Baltimore teams, when they went to that World Series in 69, 70, 71, they used to say, have good pitching and wait for a 3-run homer in the 7th. So maybe they were ahead of the curve.
And maybe that's what it was.
But I like baseball, like you're saying, drive it into the gaps. Line drives.
Yes.
I like that.
I don't like seeing. I mean, I don't mind like the pitching performances, but when you have to have like 8, 9, 10 different pitchers pitching in one game.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's the problem that baseball has now.
Yeah.
And you're not seeing the aggressive hitters anymore.
Yeah.
They're taking too many pitches.
Right.
I remember when Nomar was playing, he would come up here first pitch. He would always always swing at the first pitch no matter what.
Yeah.
You don't see that in baseball anymore.
Right. Because now you're trying to get ahead in the count, and tire out the pitchers, the whole money ball,
but I think that's the problem
stuff.
With baseball now is you see that's I think why there's so many strikeouts now because teams or players are waiting back. You get 2 strikes, now you got to swing at anything close because they're going to call you out.
Yeah.
Instead of like, I've seen it all the time. It's like you didn't swing at a pitch right down the middle of the plate.
Yeah. Because those are the great hitters, the ones who swing at strikes.
Yeah, that's what made Nomar. I remember Nomar. I mean, he would come up, won a couple of batting titles. He would swing at the first pitch he ever got.
Right. Yep.
Even if it was a bad pitch, I don't think I ever saw.
He loves swinging at the first pitch. Sometimes it's good to swing at the first pitch because the pitcher wants to get that first pitch strike.
They do
to get ahead in the count. Because there was a hitter back in the day, Manny Sanguian, won a couple championships. I know he won 1 championship. He might have won 2.
I think he won 2.
Yep, Manny Sanguian. But I used to always say about him, boy, he's a free swinger. Because he would go up there swinging at that first pitch, but he was in the top 10 hitting, so he was just.
But I think that's what made Nomar so good because he wouldn't. Nomar never worked the count.
Oh, he was just.
But he would go up there. He was ready to hack as soon as he started.
Right.
He would go through all his motions before he would.
Yeah. You know, we were talking about him on the last show, Paul Molitor. He didn't hack, but he was a free swinger.
He was a free swinger. Yep. But I think that's what baseball misses. I think that's what we miss in baseball now. I think that's why we have so many strikeouts and so many guys saying like. I mean, I don't know when I was growing up. If you hit 250, you weren't even in the top 10.
Right.
Now you're seeing two guys hitting 250 who were like third in the league in batting average.
Yeah, because you're right. Because like baseball is going to have a problem because you can get pitchers who are 6'4", 225, where you're not going to have a 6'4", 225 second baseman. No. So it's going to skew things to the pitcher, don't you think?
Exactly. I think if Randy Johnson was, because Randy Johnson was 6'6", when he was pitching. And if he was pitching now, I mean, he would probably be, say, like what Chris Sale is right now.
Right. He stood out back then.
He did.
But now, it seems because now, like with a pitcher like Pedro, like get a shot now because he was small. Considered.
I don't know if Pedro would have. I mean, if he probably would have just been a middle reliever or probably a closer.
Right, because now they want these 6'3", 6'4", flamethrowers, but then you got to have like someone like Kyler Murray got drafted in baseball. Kyler Murray is, 5'10", so baseball needs a lot of work, in my opinion.
They do, but I think the biggest thing is that I think it's the pitching. I think the problem is you get too many pitches.
Right.
I think you got to limit how many pitches. Everyone going up, you carry 11 pitches, and that was it. You carry 5 starters, 6 relievers.
Yep.
Then you get teams carrying. 10, 15, 16 pitches now, and it's like that's way too many pitches.
Right. So they reform in that way. Baseball, get those games down because football does a good job. The games are basically 3 hours.
I mean, I think if baseball went back to like 3 hours or a little over 3 hours, I think that would attract the fan base.
Right. Because sometimes you see, like I think football got greedy going from 16 to 17 games. In other words, how much is enough, as Gordon Gekko said in Wall Street? To make more money, you want to go 17 games?
I think
where it was perfect at 16.
I think baseball did the same thing when they added the second wildcard team.
Right.
To be honest, because I mean, granted, there's only one game, but it's like, I think they added it for some reason. I don't know. They should have just left it at one wild card, 3 divisional winners like they had before.
Yeah, because in other words, why did they add that extra?
I know what. Well, they added the extra wild card because people were getting kind of annoyed with the wild card keep winning the World Series.
Oh,
against the World Series, but I think a lot of it had to do with obviously ratings.
Yeah.
Because baseball was at a time where it was recovering from the steroid era.
Yeah.
So I think they were trying to.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, I mean, maybe their hands were tied behind their back or something, but baseball writers and sports radio, they turned a blind eye to the steroid era. Because they weren't, and maybe they couldn't, because they weren't mentioning, you could see these players, how their bodies were changing.
Oh yeah.
But they didn't, they were like still glorifying them. And I know, what are you going to do if you're a beat reporter for the Red Sox? What are you supposed to do? Write an article about, oh, this guy put on 40 pounds in the off season? Something was going on. In other words, people knew what was going on in that era.
I think it was just they got out of hand and they just didn't know how to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Bud Selig knew really how to do it.
Yeah. I haven't thought about him in a while. Bud Selig was the commissioner, but he was an owner. That was not a good idea to have an owner be the commissioner.
No, I know. I think that's what they have right now.
Right.
I think Rob Manfield's and now he's the commissioner.
So
but I think that's the problem that they have.
You can't have that. You got to. Well, yeah. I mean, like Roger Goodell, he's the commissioner, but he has to answer to the owners. But you need commissioner. And I think the commissioner. A lot of it started with the Black Sox scandal, 1919, where they needed that an outside arbitrator, will say, and have a commissioner.
But I think what would be nice to see baseball do, I know they started doing it recently, was have an international play.
Yep.
I know that they didn't have it last year because of the pandemic. They were supposed to have the World Classic again, but they didn't have it because of COVID. But I think if they brought that back again, I think that would help with the game and attract the younger generation.
Yeah, because they had a game on recently at 5 p.m. for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
And that seems, because people just getting home, hey, you're getting home in a second. They got to do something about these night games, but you could say the same thing about Monday Night Football coming on at 9 p.m. So it's just the way it is. Because I'm not going to be one of those people that goes to work Oh, I got 3 hours sleep because
I'm
I
not
was
either.
watching the game. I'll watch the highlights.
I think it has to do with ratings. I don't think it has to do with anything else.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, you're right. So we're going to wrap this show up pretty soon. Steve, thank you for coming on short notice to do the show. We had a show, had some cancellations. Coming on, talking baseball. Doing a great job. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm Joe Mahan.
I'm Steve Kuplast.
We'll see you on the next broadcast.
Thank you.